Circle just IPO'd, and it turns out the shape was more of a straight line up and to the right. And that's a geometry joke for you, but more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast talking about crypto and blockchain from people actually working in crypto and blockchain. No FOMO, no shilling, just arming you with information to make you better in this wild world of crypto. Think of us like your favorite duos team on World of Warcraft arenas. We're teaching you all the tips and tricks so you can take it out into the world and improve your MMR. Today, I'm joined by Kale from the Encrypt team and our resident warlock.
Hello, what's up? What's up?
And like I said, it's a duo today, so things are going to be a little bit different, but it should be equally as fun and certainly as informative. So we'll talk about Circle in a bit, but Kale, let's talk about Ethereum. So just this week, it came out that Ethereum staking hit a record, and that record is $90 billion is currently being staked, which represents 28% of all the Ethereum supply, which is an all-time high. Talk to me about this. What are your thoughts?
In general, love to see it. Like last week or a couple weeks ago, I read that BlackRock was dumping Bitcoin and buying ETH. I feel like that's just going to become more and more common. And yeah, staking ETFs are definitely coming soon, which will push it over 30% of all Ethereum staked for sure. My only concern, and this is something that I've read across Twitter for years, so it's like kind of been in the back of my head for a minute, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, but like I feel like we're kind of setting ourselves up, Ethereum community, to like blow up eventually because we're creating staking tokens. We're staking Ethereum, which gives us liquid staked Ethereum to like stake again. And it's just like staking Ethereum on Ethereum on Ethereum on Ethereum, you know? And eventually that system collapses. Like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I could definitely see that. I think what's interesting is, to get people involved in crypto and interested in crypto, it always kind of has to come down to the use case, right? And currently, the only quote unquote use case that we really see with a lot of Ethereum is staking. Yields, rewards, and then you have like trading and stuff beyond that. So yeah, I could definitely see us collapsing over our own weight if we just kind of sit there and iterate on the concept of staking and restaking and liquid staking, because that also is like stifling innovation. I hope that's not the direction we're going, and I don't think it is, and we'll talk some more about stablecoins with the Circle thing. What excites me about this staking number is I wish I could find a breakdown of like what that is of like institutional versus like retail. But it does to me kind of show that, people are still getting involved in Ethereum. Ethereum is still growing both on the institutional and the retail level. And it just shows you also how secure that blockchain is. We're not really at risk of the 5150 attack.
Dude, 90 billion is a lot of money.
That's true, but it's all a made-up number, right? I think that the 28% of all Ethereum being staked is pretty cool. But, I'll take 90 billion if you have it in your pocket and want to give it to me.
Yeah, true that. If you could only stake Ethereum or stables, what would it be?
I think I would probably stake Ethereum over stables just because you do still get exposure to that price action.
Yeah, there's like projected growth.
Yeah, I think that that's fun. And I think at the end of the day, for me, what got me into crypto was kind of the fun aspect of it, like being involved in finance, and not just the speculation, but being able to do interesting things with it. And so I think I'll always kind of be more excited about being able to do stuff with crypto instead of just like, look at this number go up.
Look at my stable coin yield. Yeah, 100%
I'm
agree.
assuming you're in the same boat as me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bit of a degen. And so in other adoption news, what I thought was interesting is Coinbase released a survey. So of course we have to take this with a grain of salt. But blockchain adoption has hit about 60% of all of the Fortune 500 companies that they surveyed are instituting some sort of blockchain initiative, crypto initiative, something like that. And like I said, we have to take this with a grain of salt. Of course, it's Coinbase saying this, and like maybe everyone's like, "Oh, this is a Coinbase survey. Sure, I'll give them what they want."
Yeah.
Right. But I for one think it's really cool to kind of see this at the Fortune 500 level because a it shows that despite the current landscape of AI initiative, people are still kind of falling back on blockchain fundamentals for changing the way that they operate and run companies, and I think that's really exciting. What are your thoughts?
I mean, definitely agree. It's crazy how fast this is happening, in my opinion, because just last year there were like it seemingly like nobody was talking about this, or at least like
Mm.
much less people were talking about it. And then in 2023, even less, 2022, even less. So it's like, and all of a sudden, it seems like within the last 6 months, like all of these stories are coming out that crypto is doing this with Fortune 500 and crypto is doing that in the Fortune 500. So it feels like it's all happening really quickly, which is intense.
Do you feel, and maybe this is just me and my kind of like little bubble and echo chamber, do you feel that kind of the narrative of tech and finance is moving away from AI?
No, definitely not.
No. And
No,
the other
no.
reason I say that is because I don't know if you watched the Apple event, but they just like
Mhm.
didn't mention their AI. They didn't mention Siri. Um, you know,
Interesting.
they just like, and that was all they talked about last year.
Like for Apple specifically, I think they're probably trying to come up with their own like Apple intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, it's
No,
Apple
it's Apple
intelligence.
Intel. It's already on my stupid phone, like, and it's bad.
It's already out? I didn't
Yeah,
even know that.
yeah.
I
I
was gonna
mean,
say like maybe they're not talking about it until it's like ready to ship and
no,
like
they
super
shipped
killer.
it in iOS 18 or whatever the hell, and like it's no bueno.
Wow,
And
I didn't even know that.
that's all
Damn.
they rammed down everyone's throats last year was this Apple Intelligence, and it is
I
hot
remember that, yeah.
garbo, dude. And I mean, for me, I also see like Meta being like, we're going to invest 15 billion because we're falling behind in AI, and I'm like, I don't think you're falling behind. I think everyone's kind of the dew on this is kind of falling off, but maybe that's just what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, bro, coming like from a musician's perspective, like I'm not stoked about AI taking everything over either, but I do feel like it's a Pandora's box situation where we like kind of open something that we can't put away. So it's just at this point we kind of just have to adapt. But
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, speaking from a creative standpoint, this AI trend is not actually going to replace creatives, right? If we see all of these like VO3 things that are like, look, it's a Star Wars character doing a vlog. I'm like, okay, so that is building them on the concept of a creative person that made a vlog, a creative
yeah,
person
yeah,
that came up with a
yeah.
Star Wars, came up with stormtroopers. At its core, creativity will always be something that is rare and important. And then this technology would just enable it and iterate on it. And, if you're into like that third hand slop, fine. But it still does require that first person to make something cool.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah. But back to kind of the Fortune 500 stuff. Um, this is really cool because I do think in the coming weeks, months, we're going to see even more talk about blockchain initiatives from these companies. And I think tokenization of different things. I have a strong sense that Robinhood is going to announce like tokenized stocks at their Paris event or their Cannes event later
Hmm.
this month. And I think that if they beat Kraken to it, that's going to be a bit depressing for Kraken because I do think
That's
Kraken was like lining up to do
Yeah, I mean, strong, strong. That's like Batman and Superman going head to head.
that.
You know what I did notice about this Fortune 500 thing? Like, all of them only bring up Bitcoin or Ethereum. Do you think that Solana is just GG's, or you think that like they still have a chance in the future?
I at the end of the day, like if I am a Fortune 500 company and I'm looking to actually build capital B build something on a blockchain, not just speculate on it, I'm gonna do it on Ethereum. It's the most
True.
battle tested. It's the one that's got the most robust community. And is working the best.
Yeah, yeah,
Solana is
definitely.
still in beta. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so
just based off of your response, like ETH doesn't randomly shut down
right
for a day at a time. ETH
anymore.
Yeah, yeah. ETH has like the stronger culture for sure. ETH like is where DeFi lives.
Yeah, and even though we fixed the gas prices, I do think that some of the prices on Ethereum being a bit prohibitive are pretty good at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Like, if you're going to be building something, you want a ticketed event rather than something for free, so
Yeah,
that way you can like, okay, all of the people that are just fly by night or tryhards won't come
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
not free.
yeah. That makes sense.
So moving on, this is a story you brought to me, and I also saw it as well. But Polymarket and X are teaming up. Kind of lay it on me. What does this mean? Where are we going with this?
Dude, you want to hear something crazy? As degenerate as I am, I'm gonna lose like so much good face. I've never used Polymarket.
Oh, that's because you're in the
I've
United States. You're not allowed to.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. That's why. That's
Yeah,
why I've
yeah,
never.
that's why. 100%.
But yeah, I don't know, dude. Like it to me, prediction markets feel too easy to game. You
Hmm.
know, like if I know for sure something's gonna happen tomorrow, and then I just make a market for it, I can like make too much money. So, it never really like I was never super incentivized to even try it. But now like they've partnered with X Polymarket, and Polymarket, for those who don't know, is like the biggest prediction market on chain. I think it started on Polygon, hence the name Polymarket. But at this point, I'm pretty sure it's expanded beyond Polygon. It doesn't. It's not only on Polygon anymore, I
No,
believe.
I think it's like on Ethereum, and like I think most people use stablecoins for it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, if like I said, I've never like been a huge prediction market guy, but I
Hmm.
live on Twitter pretty much. Like I spend
Right.
hours every day on Twitter. So if this somehow gets integrated into Twitter where it's like Grok, where you just press a button and then you can see some prediction markets, like maybe I'll dip my feet in. But yeah, I mean, I've never like been incentivized to like go out of my way to try it.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's just going to make the prediction market funnel easier, bring more people into crypto.
Do you think Twitter has or X has the tech stack to like integrate this in a beautiful way,
Beautiful is the key word here.
seamless way?
I mean, I think, yeah, they have the tech for sure.
Because I seem to recall them being like, "We're doing stocks on X," and you'll be able to like see the tickers and like do the tickers, and then that slowly just kind of like went away quietly into the night.
Really? I didn't even, what, how long ago was that?
Oh, this was like early days of the Musk takeover.
Okay. Well, I mean, I definitely, I think that they do like have the capability,
Mhm.
um, as as far as like the motivation, like to make it seamless and actually like easy to use and all of that, like I don't know, that's a different story. But they definitely they have the tech, you know, like Twitter can they it's easy to use if they want it to be.
Yeah. I just wonder how this is going to kind of work. Is this going to be crypto or is this just going to be fiat into crypto and back into fiat without the users even knowing it's crypto?
Good question. Honestly, probably the latter if I
Yeah.
had to if I had to guess.
Yeah, because they're not gonna like want to deal with like connecting a wallet to your Twitter account. I think they'll just be like, put a credit card that you pay for your blue check mark or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
and then you can run up a tab, being like, "Oh yeah, the third pigeon from the left is gonna leave first."
Yeah, 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 exactly. I'm sure they'll approach it from the angle of introducing Polymarket to like everybody on Twitter, and
Hmm.
then some of those people will be like, well, some of those people using Polymarket will realize, oh, this is a crypto thing, but likely like not everybody. They'll probably implement it in a way where you can just use it and then not know that you're interacting with crypto. Just like add a credit card, like you said.
Yeah,
That makes the most sense.
I'm also kind of intrigued to see because it does kind of make sense to like combine the like social feed with then being able to bet on it, right? Because you get
Hmm.
kind of that instant feedback loop of people talking about a topic.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of wonder what the crossover is of, your Twitter feed versus something that you want to take a bet on, right?
Hmm.
So I guess probably in like the sports world, yeah, there's a lot of crossover. You're like, oh, I'll take the Lakers in the third quarter with a parlay of like blah blah blah. I don't understand sports.
Yeah.
Um, but then like being able to immediately, do prediction markets based off that what you're seeing in real time could have a lot of appeal. But I don't know where the crossover is on other things that people want to bet on.
True. Yeah, you know what's a side note is yesterday they said that they're releasing Bitcoin and Ethereum hourly markets where you can bet whether Ethereum and Bitcoin is going to
Jesus.
go up or down. And it's like, isn't that just trading?
That
Like, you can literally just buy or sell ETH to
that's
see if
worse
it's going
than
to go up or
trading
down.
because at the end of that hour you don't have that asset still.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
oh, yep, you're wrong. Thanks for your dollar, like
It's
or
like something
whatever.
for degens to bet on while they wait for the 1 minute candle to close.
Yeah.
It's like insane.
Oof. That is crazy.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our next story, which is virtual protocols has moved from Base to Ethereum. And you brought this one to me as well. Lay it on me.
Yeah. So Virtuals is an AI protocol built on Base that basically enabled AI agents with like crypto market intelligence.
Mhm.
The most popular one, AIXBT, lives on Twitter, and it calls out emerging trends and data points and all types of stuff on Twitter to help traders and investors kind of find and synthesize new information. So overall, it's like exactly how it sounds. AIXBT is just an AI agent that's like kind of like a crypto research buddy that
Okay.
never sleeps, and it's built on the Virtuals protocol.
Okay.
And Virtuals lives on Base, so it's very complicated. But like
Yep.
Virtuals, the thing that enabled that whole agent, is now moving from Base to Ethereum. And now that it's on ETH, basically, in my opinion at least, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities because ETH is obviously much more secure than Base with the much deeper liquidity. And basically, where my optimist head lands is that if you imagine a world where we're living alongside robots, I know you hate to hear it, it's just
I love to live alongside robots. First of all, I have a robot vacuum in the other room. She's my
that's kind of
favorite.
badass.
Yeah.
But yeah, like say we solve alignment and we are living in this utopian pipe dream where humans and robots are all getting along and everything is flourishing. If that is ever going to manifest, things like this need to be laid down as groundwork first, because in an AI economy or in economy in general, like the one that we live in, where inflation is just accelerating nonstop, higher inflation, like we need a system like crypto to keep AI economy in check so that
Mm.
AI economy doesn't just like, keep growing, keep growing, and keep growing, keep printing, keep printing.
Yeah.
And so I think that blockchain tech, crypto tech, is going to help that whole AI agent um, proliferation, like not get too crazy.
Mhm.
Crypto will help keep AI in check. And yeah, I feel like virtuals moving to Ethereum can be the beginning of like that beautiful um, symbiotic relationship.
Even
But
though you
only,
did call the commercial a bit cringe, huh?
oh yeah, the commercial was so cringe, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I posted a tweet afterwards too. I was like, Solana commercial son or Virtual's commercial's daughter? Because it's
Mm.
like, bruh, that's the first thing I thought of. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like very, very neat, like NEET, neat, like nerd, anime lover vibe, which is
Mm.
fine. But it's like, that doesn't capture everybody in crypto, even though it might be like a huge percentage of us.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think base feels bad at their core? Do you think that that like kind of like shakes that community, shakes that concept?
I would imagine so, yeah. Because ever since Space launched, it seems like they're trying to position themselves as like retail's version of ETH. It's like,
Mm.
oh, is ETH too expensive to use? Like, come to Base. Like, you can just onboard easily with Coinbase, and it's the same thing as Ethereum, but cheaper and faster, and blah blah blah. And so like they were seemingly like trying to position themselves as the alternative to ETH for
Mm.
people who don't have $20 to spend on gas. And now to see this protocol move from base back to the L1, it's like, yeah, I'm sure they're not stoked about it.
Yeah. I think it's kind of an interesting, there's been a narrative of like to your point, L1s are expensive, go to an L2. And now I kind of wonder if there's a change in how we're looking at these, similar to the Polkadot ecosystem, where it's like, here is where you build stuff to break it. And once you kind of like figure out all the bumps, then you step it up and come back to the L1.
Like a Kusama Polkadot
Yeah,
situation.
exactly. Like how they have all their basic quote unquote test nets. where they get to break it live and then come back and be like, okay, here's all the lessons we've learned. Let's do it for real now.
Yeah, that like honestly, base should pivot to that if anything. If they haven't already, like it's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, it's hard for me to say just because obviously I'm not a developer, so I don't know what it's like to be in the trenches of a developer ecosystem where you're building stuff. Um, but as a retail user, I'm like, what's this base stuff? I don't care. That's
Yeah,
silly.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like if this trend continues, and I think it could be really engaging and fun to watch if that's the case.
100%.
What,
Like a random thought like that just came to me when you said that like as a retail user, I don't care if it's base or ETH or whatever. It's kind of like comparing like I don't care if I'm using Visa or Mastercard
yep.
or Discover. Like as long as my thing is working, that's what matters.
Exactly. And I think that as we continue to go into the multi-chain future, that's what people are going to expect. They don't,
Yeah.
bridging is the worst. And like, having to be like, oh, now I need this coin and gas. It's the worst. Like,
Yeah, and you need gas like on the chain that you're bridging to, which is like I'm trying to bridge
exactly.
to that chain. Like, how do I get gas on that chain? It's like yeah, it's a whole clusterfuck.
No, it's horrible for sure. Which brings us back to things that are not horrible, which is Circle's IPO. And Circle is dealing with stablecoins, which are, as we've often cited, a really cool use case. And this was a fascinating IPO to watch because they initially priced their shares to go live at $26. And in the first few seconds of trading, it jumped to 90, which could indicate to me two things. One, they either grossly underpriced their shares, um, or the demand for this company is so high for that kind of infrastructure, right? Because this is, to my knowledge, one of the only infrastructure IPOs for crypto we've seen. Like this is access to a crypto infrastructure of stablecoins as opposed to Coinbase is not infrastructure, it is a trading
Yeah.
app. Same thing with Robinhood, same thing with Kraken if they actually IPO. Um, but I think every crypto company, whether they're infrastructure or app related, saw this IPO and is like, well, maybe we should IPO. Is it time to go big? I don't know.
Dude, probably. I didn't know it opened at like $26 a share though.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what it was priced at.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so for like the IPO access on because Robinhood does offer the ability to buy IPO shares through an allotment lottery, and so people got them for that little, and then it
Damn.
just absolutely skyrocketed.
Yeah, no, I totally missed it as far as like the trade. I
Hmm.
should have played it. I completely skipped it though.
Yeah,
Should have
but I
bought call
mean,
options.
but I think it's interesting to see like this is probably one of the most boring things in crypto. And yet we're seeing a lot of excitement, a lot of like investment around it. Does that kind of speak to the longevity of stablecoins? Does that speak to the longevity of infrastructure plays?
100%. I think people are getting excited about stablecoins. People are kind of figuring out that stablecoins are the next wave. I think everyone's kind of agreeing, but nobody knows how to catch that investment. Like how do you invest in the upcoming stablecoin wave?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably why this is doing so well. Like this is a vehicle for people to like be exposed to stablecoins and
Yeah.
stablecoin growth, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious about how this is going to affect the stablecoin wars, like USDC versus USDT
Hmm.
specifically. Because USDT doesn't have or Tether doesn't have what's it called, an IPO.
No, I mean, not that we know of. But then again, as in my crypto bubble, I've never owned USDT. I've owned USDC for sure. Um,
True.
Coinbase's entire like USDC earning was just USDC. I don't even know if USDT is in Coinbase. But they certainly were like USDC is our guy. This is our part. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Brock Pierce either.
I mean, you know what they say: once a mighty duck, never to be trusted. Yeah. First time I saw him, he was wearing a leather vest with no sleeves, and I said, "Nope, not this guy.
First time I saw him, he was wearing like a huge cowboy hat. I was like, dude, this would be the guy with like billions of dollars.
Yeah, for sure. And
It's crazy.
that's the old school thought leadership of crypto. I think we've gotten a lot better. And speaking of getting better, I think you just got a lot smarter from listening to this episode. So you should feel good about yourself because we feel good about you.
Hell
We just
yeah.
So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And we will see you in the next episode. Thanks, Kale.
Bye.